All right, everyone, in today's episode, we're going to review the Concerto Cartridge for the Atari 7800 from Erstwhile Technologies. All right, you guys, so in this video, we're going to talk a little bit about this guy right here. This is the Concerto Cartridge for the Atari 7800. It's similar to a EverDrive cartridge in that you just put a SD card in the top with the game files on it, plug this into a 7800, and then you can play the games that you want to play. Now, I can tell you, I've already opened this. Normally I would open one of these up in front of you guys and you could see the unboxing and everything, but I bought this and I hadn't planned on even doing a video on it, but it works really well, and I thought it was at least worth it to show you guys, kind of go through the setup, explain what it is, and then if you're interested in one, I'll put a link in the description so that you could go check it out for yourself, maybe buy one. But again, it works as good as it should, and because of that, I thought it was worth showing to you. Now, if you're watching the video, you may not have even known that this existed, so it may be a good way for you to check it out. But let's start a little bit here just with the basics of the cartridge itself. It's a good build quality, and what I mean by that is the plastic is thick, it's not flimsy. Everything fits well, and I'll show you how it fits into the console itself here in a moment. But everything feels like it should. The texture and everything is very similar to an original cartridge, and we'll compare it to the original cartridges here in a moment. The only thing I would say that I don't like about this, and there's a few different color choices you can get with this if you decide to buy one, but the only thing I don't really like about it is up here, the SD card slot. If you can see, it's not a very clean cut across here. Now, this has nothing to do with gameplay or how it functions. It works just fine. It's just, this isn't a cheap cartridge by any stretch of the imagination, and I would like to think that they could do a little better job. You can see it a little bit on the camera here where it's white, where they've cut through the plastic, and if we compare that to, let's say, a Crix cartridge or a Terra Onion cartridge, it's not like that. There'll be an indentation here where the card goes in so that you can push in on the card and it'll pop out on those other cartridges, and it's just a really clean, sleek look, and this isn't. Okay, the cartridge itself is nice. It's got a nice feel. It's thick plastic. It's not going to break or anything like that. I just think they should have spent a little bit extra time and done this right, in my opinion anyways. So outside of that, it is a pretty good quality. Let's compare it to a 7800 cartridge here. So this is Tower Toppler for the Atari 7800. Now if we look at the height, they're the same height. The width is the same, and the thickness is the same. So the cartridge itself matches 1-to-1 with the original 7800 cartridge, which, if you're not familiar, the 2600 also shares the same dimensions, and you're able to play 2600 games on the 7800. Which is why I was interested in this, because I thought, okay, if we can get some game files of cartridges we don't have and put in one here, either whether it be for the 2600 or the 7800, that's a way that we can enjoy those games and play them if we weren't able to before. Now, we've got a number of these games already, a number of these cartridges, but again, there are some that we don't have access to that we can get the files and play them on here, and that's what we're going to do. But as far as, again, the feel of it feels good. It's a nice build quality. The finesse, there's a little bit of work that could be done there. There's a couple of different colors that you can get for these. And the size and everything is similar to the original ones. Even the thickness of the cartridge. Everything's good. All right, now what I want to talk about, I talked a little bit about this SD port here at the top. Now let's just put the SD card in and I'll show you. And this is a standard SD card, which I'm surprised they didn't do a micro SD on here, but whatever. The standard ones, if you don't have a standard one, you can use a micro with an adapter. I think they sell the adapters pretty much all the time now with the micro SDs. But you can just slide this in here, and that's it. Now, it's easy to put in and take out, okay, no problem. However, I don't think it looks that great. Now, you're going to be looking at it like this in the console, and we'll insert it in a minute. But you've got this large SD card sticking out the top. I think they should have made it to where, regardless of whether it's a micro SD or a standard size SD card, that it sits flush, and then you just push down to eject it with a spring mechanism inside. That's the way the competitive brands, well, I don't know if I would say competitive, but the other companies that produce these kind of cartridges make it, and it looks much better because you just don't have this big thing sticking out the top. It's more flat. And I am nitpicking this again. This is a very good quality product. You'll see it works fine, but I just think that they could have went above and beyond a little bit to really make this a nicer product. But anyhow, this will go into here, and that's what it looks like with the SD card installed. All right, now we've got our Atari 7800 Pro system here. Now, I'm going to show you how this will fit inside of here. So here's the cartridge with the SD card inside, and it simply plugs right down in the top. No problem. Now, one thing I will say is the 7800s are known to have issues with the cartridge port here not allowing games to go inside. So I've already modified this one. What I did was I took the plastic off of the board for the cartridge, where the cartridge goes inside of the console, and I took a Dremel and I cut out the corners, which allows just enough space so that you can put in these original cartridges just fine without any problems, and then take them out. Now, would this have worked okay if I wouldn't have done that? Would it have slid down in there? I don't know. I didn't try it out. So, maybe it would have, maybe it wouldn't make a difference. Maybe this would still slide down in there okay. But since this is the same dimension as this, I would assume it's going to have some issues. But that's not the fault of this. So if you buy one of these and you struggle a little bit putting it into your 7800, it's the 7800. It's these cartridge ports. I recommend just going in and removing the corners like I did, and then you can get your, whether it be original games or this cartridge here, to go in just fine. But this is what it looks like inside the console. Turn around to the back here. So this is what it looks like. Looks okay. Now what we'll do is we will put our files onto the SD card, show you guys how that works, and then we will plug this thing in. And the ideal is we're going to test out a few games that we've got physical cartridges of on the 7800, and then we are going to test the same games out via the file, just to compare them and see if there's any noticeable difference. There shouldn't be, but that's what we're going to do. And what we're going to do to test those out, we've got 3 7800 games. We've got Tower Toppler, Galaga, and Robotron 2084. So we've got these 3 7800 games. And then we've got Combat, Demon Attack, and Atlantis for the 2600. So we'll try out each one of these games with the original cartridge, and then we will try out the files on the cartridge for the Concerto cartridge and see if there's any differences. There shouldn't be, but if there is, we'll note them. If there's not, then take it for what it is in the video, and then maybe that'll give you an idea if this is something you want to do or not. But it is an option, and again, I played some of the games on it already. Everything worked good, and because of that, I decided to make this video. So let's get to the next step. We'll put our files on there and then test everything out. Okay, you guys, so what we're looking at here is our desktop, and I want to show you how easy it is to install the game files on this Concerto cartridge. You'll notice on the left here where my mouse is, this is the USB drive or the SD card drive rather. And on the right, I've got some folders with some games in it. Now this is a very simple drag and drop method. Some cartridges require you to download a file that will allow the cartridge to read the game files. We don't need to do any of that here. All you have to do is drag and drop the files. But the first thing you want to do is you definitely want to format your SD card. So we're just going to right click on the drive that's got our SD card, and then we are going to click format. Now you'll notice here that this is just a 7 gigabyte, 7.39. It's actually an 8 gigabyte is what it's called, but we're going to format this to a FAT32. So all we have to do is just simply click start. Yep, and just so you know, in case you don't know this, when you format, it's going to erase whatever you have on that disk. So make sure that if you've got anything on there, you've got it backed up somewhere else, because once you click OK, it's over. And we can drag and drop the games over. Now for our test, we're going to do 3 7800 games and 3 2600 games. So we'll just start with the 28600. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create 2 folders just to make it a little bit easier for us. We'll make the first one 2600 and then the second one 7800. So let's go into the 2600 and then we'll grab our games. We want Combat, Demon Attack, and Atlantis. Now we're going to do the 7800, Galaga, Robotron 2084, and Tower Toppler. All right, it's literally as simple as that. Now what we're going to do is just extract or eject the USB drive, our SD card, and that's it. All right, you guys, so to start off, we are going to play Tower Toppler. This is the original 7800 game cartridge. We are going to be using our TAC2 joystick. So if you're not familiar with this game, this is a fun puzzle-based game. The way the animation works is very neat. Well, I just died. But the way the animation works in this is very neat. When you go into the doors and you switch back and forth, I think they could be successful making a modern version of this game and it still be relevant and people would actually play it. Some of these older games, not so much, but I think they could do that with this game. The only problem I have with this game is the sound effects. There's no music, so all you have is just the annoying sounds of what's going on in the background, and that's not the greatest over time. But other than that, this is probably one of the better titles for the 7800, at least in my opinion. I think it's a well done game. Controls work pretty good, and the animation and everything works very good for the game. The idea was to make it to the top of the castle. Well, the idea is to make it to the top of the castle before time runs out. And you've got to find your way around this maze of obstacles and enemies to do that. Okay, I'm not sure what happened there. I didn't push down. At least I don't think I did. Okay, anyways, you guys get the idea of what you're doing here. So this is the way the game is on the original console. You see how it looks. It is, like I said, this is a fun game, and if you haven't played it and you have a way of playing it, then I would recommend it. It's definitely one of my more favorite games for this console. Let's see if we can make it in time. I don't know, 10 seconds. Whew. Nope. All right, so that's this. Now let's turn this off and let's put our Concerto cartridge in and check it out. So here's the Concerto cartridge. We'll plug it in, fire this thing up. All right. So this is important. We'll read this. This is a test firmware that is not intended for general release. Please only use this firmware for testing specific features for the upcoming version 0.96. Thanks. I specifically left this one here so that you guys could see that right out of the box, this is what it looks like, and you can go ahead and load files onto it and play it. Now, having said that, I would recommend going online and downloading the firmware before you do anything, just like they're recommending, but I wanted you to see exactly what this was from the beginning. To get into your folders, you're just going to hit your fire button. There we go. So I've just made a 2600 and a 7800 folder, and you're just going to use your joystick to toggle between them. So we're going to do Tower Toppler. Get this running here. Sound matches the original. Let's check out the gameplay. All right. Okay. Well, there we go for that. So let's try this one more time, see if we can make it to the top. But you see everything's working just as it should. It looks just as good as the actual cartridge. The sound and everything matches, the controls, I mean, same game. I don't see any difference. I think it works great. There we go. Gotcha. There's a lot of patterns to the way things work on this game, and you'll spend many tries on the same level just figuring out how everything moves, which path you need to take, but it's fun. It's a well-made game. Okay. Now sometimes enemies like that will come along and you got to position your character so you miss them, but oh, there we go. So that didn't work out too well for me. All right, let's try this again. We're almost there. Okay. Got it. All right, so there you go. You see how it works, how the game does. This is a fun game to play. And again, everything's working just like it should. Everything looks just like it did in the original game. All right, now we're going to try out Robotron 2084. This is the original cartridge for the 7800. Okay, so immediately I'm getting my ass whooped here. But this is what the original cartridge looks like. Nothing too crazy. You got to get some space between you because you got to point in the direction that you're trying to shoot on this game. Here we go, the next area. All right. Oh boy. All right, so this is what the original game looks like. Now let's check out the version on the Concerto. Here we go with the Concerto. Okay, we're going to go to our 7800 file, and we're going to play Robotron 2084. Oh boy. So everything feels the same as it did before. I'm getting ready to die just like I did before, so no changes there. We've got these little guys following us. The thing I don't like about this game is you got to move your character in the direction you're going to shoot, and you move the character at the same time. So you got to get a lot of distance between you and the characters, or you're going to die, which is what I'm doing here. But anyways, everything's working just like the original one. I don't notice any difference, not only from the controls, but just the way everything looks and sounds. I think everything is the same. It's just that I'm terrible at this game. And it's consistent on both cartridges. I'm terrible. So that's it for this game. Now we'll move on to the next one. All right, now we got Galaga for the 7800. Okay, 1984 Atari. Let's go. All right. I'm sure everybody's familiar with what this game is at this point. This is the original cartridge here, so all we're doing is just shooting these little aliens, bugs, whatever, as they fly into the screen. So nothing too crazy here. But since everybody's pretty much familiar with Galaga at this point in time, that's why I chose to do it. Ah, he got me. Okay. So this is what it looks like on the original cartridge. Now let's see what it looks like on the Concerto cartridge. All right, so we're just going to go back to our 7800 folder, and then we're going to select Galaga. Looks just like the other one did. Let's see if it plays like the other one. Yep. So everything's playing just as it should here. No complaints. And everything looks as it should. So everything we've tried for the 7800 looks and plays just like the original. It's easy to plug everything in, get everything loaded up. So I think as far as the 7800 games go, this is a success. Now what we're going to do is we are going to try out some of the 2600 games and see what we get there. All right, so first off for the 2600 games, we are going to try out Combat. Everybody's familiar with this game, so that's why we're going to try it out first. All right, so see if we can get over here. I'm doing this by myself, so we're just gonna cruise over here and shoot this other tank. All right. Maybe. There we go. All right, so this is the typical combat game. Everybody's familiar with this. Let's go to select, see if we can get a different version going on here. All right, we'll go to one of the plain levels. Let's go. See if we can shoot this guy. Doesn't look like it because I'm all over the place here. There we go. Gotcha. All right, so this is the original game. Now we're going to turn this off and we'll check it out on the Concerto cartridge. Right, here we go, combat. Okay, so here we go, same game, same setup, but we're on the Concerto cartridge, and we're gonna just cruise over here like we did before, and shoot this guy. All right, so everything looks and sounds the same. Now let's see if we can't get through the different games within this while using the Concerto cartridge. So we're just going to hit our select button. We're going to try to get over to the plain game like we were just testing out. There we go. Reset, there we go. So here we go, same game for the airplane version. Let's see. Oh, almost hit him here. Gotcha. All right, so everything's playing just like it should, just like the original. Now we'll go to our next 2600 game. All right, now we're going to try out Demon Attack. This is the original 2600 cartridge. All right. I always thought this game was pretty cool. The sounds and just the way it looks for the 2600 anyway, and the way the characters zoom in and zoom out of the screen, I always thought was pretty cool. Come on. Gotcha. Okay. All right. Gotcha. All right. So this is what the original Demon Attack looks like here, the original cartridge. Now we'll try it out on the Concerto cartridge. All right, here we are, same game. Everything sounds the same, looks the same, it feels the same on the joystick. Come on. I'm even using my same terrible skills to control this thing, so. Gotcha. Ah, you got me. All right, so the point is here, the game is working the same as it did on the original cartridge. I can't notice any differences in the video, the sound, the controls, nothing. All right, come on. All right, here we go. Come on, damn you. Gotcha. All right, so yeah, this is playing great, just like the original, just like it should play, no problems. All right, now we're going to test out our last game here, Atlantis. This is another 2600 game in the original cartridge. Okay. Gotcha. All right. Oh boy. Gotcha. Come on. All right, so this is the way the original game looks and plays. It's working just like it should. No problems there. So we will test it out on the Concerto cartridge and see what we got. All right, so here we are back in our menu. We're going to go to the 2600 folder and we're going to select Atlantis. Gotcha. Everything's playing, looking, sounding just like the original did. I can't notice any differences. Oh. I got my main gun here. All right, so, I mean, the point is everything is working and sounding and looking just like it should. I can't notice any difference between using the original cartridge or using this thing. And that's really why I wanted to show this to you guys, because I didn't really have any expectations one way or the other after I got it. I had heard of it and found it online, and I thought, okay, maybe this will work and be able to play some of the games that we don't have the cartridges for. And we've got a lot of these already, but you know, some of them are a little bit more obscure or rare that's just hard to find or expensive at this point. So that's why we wanted to do this. All right, you guys. So we just reviewed the Concerto cartridge for the Atari 7800 from Erstwhile Technologies. Now, you've seen us drop some files on there, throw it in the 7800 and play it. It's really that easy. There's not much to it. And because of the file size of the older 2600 and 7800 games are so small, it's very quick. You can have subfolders set up on your SD card for the 2600 and for the 7800 so that you can find them easier, or you can just drop the files, however you want to do it. But this thing will work just fine. Out of the box, it's already got a BIOS uploaded, so you don't have to do anything. If you want, you can hook it up and you can download the newest version. But out of the box, you can plug it in and play it just like it is. So you can't get any easier than that. I will say everything works just like it should. No issues whatsoever. The only complaint I have is the cartridge itself. It's a good build quality. It feels good. But when you look at the top where the SD card goes in, the way that the hole was cut, it doesn't look all that great. And you know, if we look at like Crix, for example, or Terra Onion, and the way they do their cartridges, they do a very good job. There's a lot of finesse done. They've spent their time on it. And this doesn't quite have that. I know that this company isn't as big It hasn't been doing this as long, and it works fine. That's the main thing. I just think that they should have maybe done a little better job. So I guess the only thing I would knock on it is the fact that the hole for the SD card was cut out and it doesn't look that great, and the fact that the SD card sticks up so far out of the cartridge. I wish that it set more flush, with you still being able to push the SD card down and take it out, but sit almost flush with the top. I think it would just look that much better. But overall, it's a good product, worked just like we wanted it to, and no complaints there. I would recommend this product if you're looking to get your hands on some older 7800, 2600 games that maybe you don't have, or you do, they don't work right, etc. We've got a bunch of these cartridges ourselves, and this is just so much of an easier way to play these. So, I mean, whichever way you want to go about it, it does work, and it's a way for you to be able to play some games that maybe you didn't already have. But we really appreciate you guys tuning into this episode, and until next time, keep gaming.